Good afternoon, everyone. We will give folks a minute or two here to join us, and then we will get started. All right. I know we've got some friends who will continue to join us here in the first few minutes, which is certainly fine. But for the sake of time, I will go ahead and get us kicked off. Hi, everyone. My name is Casey Ford, and I serve as the Interim Director for Student Transitions in the Center for Student Leadership and Engagement here at Clemson. Part of what that means is that I exist to support your experience as a parent and a family member as you transition to Clemson University along with your student. And so as a part of our parent and family orientation experience this summer, we offer what we call our Tiger Talk webinar series. And so this is our second installment of this summer's Tiger Talk series, and they are a summer of hour-long webinars that are really focused on offering you some in-depth face time with our experts across campus who have the answers to your questions. So we know that some of you may be joining us for Ready, Set, Roar, our in-person experience this summer, and some of you may have interacted with us in other ways, but that does not always get to every question that you might have, or does not always allow you that chance to kind of talk through in depth what you might need to know as you support your student. And so it is our hope that through these sessions, we're able to offer you that time and ensure that you feel confidently equipped to support your student as they transition to college. And so just a couple quick housekeeping notes for you before I transition over to our panelists. This is a Zoom webinar. I'm confident that you are more familiar with Zoom tools than you ever wish to be at this point in our world. This one is a little bit different from a regular Zoom meeting setup. So you will notice that audio and video has been turned off for everyone except the panelists. So hopefully you only see our faces on the screen. That is intentional, just so we can kind of stay focused on the content that we have to offer for you today and make sure that our presenters have the opportunity to share all of their knowledge with you. You'll also see on your screen in the top right corner that this is being recorded. So we also do that intentionally. If there are pieces that you forget about the session later on, or pieces that you want to reference from today's session, you will have the chance to do that through a couple of ways. So after this session is finished and recorded, we upload that to the Clemson Family Programs YouTube page. We'll be sure to share that link in the chat shortly. We also send that out through the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. And then finally, we will post the recording of the financial aid webinar specifically on their website as well. And we will share that specific links with you as well, so you know where to find that later on. A couple final pieces about kind of the webinar environment here for you. You'll notice on your toolbar at the bottom that there's a question and answer feature. We would ask that you please use that tool to submit any questions as we go throughout the content that we're presenting today. We've got some panelists who are going to talk through their content and likely address a lot of the topics that you all are wondering about. But if there are questions that pop up, we would just ask that you funnel those through there. That helps us all be able to see them and make sure that we get those answered, whereas the chat will really be more so used for us to share information back with you. All right, and from here, I will transition over to our presenters to introduce themselves.
All right. Good afternoon, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Clemson University. My name is Amy Burke. I am the Senior Financial Aid Counselor, and I will be helping everyone here today answer questions in the background. My focus is primarily on federal aid, but happy to answer any questions y'all have today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Butts. I'm the Senior Student Financial Services Counselor, and my job will be to help you with the process of paying your bill after all of that financial aid has been applied. And we'll talk about some of the billing practices and the navigating through the cost and through getting refunds and different things as we go along here. But delighted to be with you and so glad that you're with us.
Thanks for joining us. Hey everybody, I'm Anna Lewis and I work in the financial aid office, more specifically with scholarships, university and state scholarships. So if you have any questions about those, I'm happy to answer them. You're going to be hearing a lot more from me later, so I'm not going to say too much.
All right, and I believe this kicks off our official content.
So let's run down the agenda and kind of how things are going to flow here. I will begin by presenting to you student financial services and our practice. We'll talk about student communication, authorized users, tuition fees, and payment. We'll talk about payment plans that are available in fall and spring. And we'll also talk about how refunds are issued. Anna will then take over and talk about financial aid and privacy and communication there, types of financial aid that's available to your student, what next steps you need to take as we prepare for August, and thinking ahead on down the line for your students' time here at Clemson. As we move along, let's begin with the billing office, the bursar's office, Student Financial Services. We're the guys who will send that bill out to you for the fall term in late July. We're going to focus a little bit on summer start coming up in just a couple of minutes, but I'm going to begin by telling you what we do in the Student Financial Services office. We like to tell the joke sometimes that financial aid gives you the money and then financial services takes it away from you. But our office does handle billing. We handle processing bill payment. We assist you with payment plans, all tuition and fee questions. We're here for you. We also process in our office outside and private scholarships. These are not state or federal scholarships, but we handle those that may come from your local Rotary Club or from your local church, etc. And then we also process refunds that any overage may result in as we go along. I want to tell you a little bit about how we communicate the billing practices and the day-to-day, week-to-week information that you may need. There's no paper correspondence from our office. Our primary means of communication is that Clemson student email address at clemson.edu. So everything is sent electronically. I want you to know to the student's Clemson email. So the student should check that email as much as possible, especially if they've made a change to their schedule that they think may affect their bill. They need to be keeping an eye on that email. We do not send emails out unless it's an important matter. We don't send anything out congratulating a sports team or just acknowledging a special day of the week or anything. If we send it out, it's going to be something that the student and authorized user need to pay attention to. They need to look at it. So just keep that little bit in mind. We do have statements that go out at the start of each month. Those current statements, those monthly statements, keep in mind, are only for the point in time in which the statement was generated. So going back to my previous point, the bill status in IORE, the student logs into their IORE billing page, that's in real time. So students make any changes to their course schedule, they add a course, etc. They need to log into IORE and check how it's affected that balance right away, not wait until the next statement period to do so. We're unable, due to the large volume of students that we have and the number of daily changes that are taking place, it's not feasible to be able to send out a new statement every time a change is made. So students, you need to log on anytime you make a change to your schedule or your bill and log on and see if that's affected your balance in any way. There is also a feature on our page, the IROR page, labeled On-Demand Statement. That will give you a real-time statement on letterhead any point in time between those statement periods, should you ever need that. I do want to point out that information goes only to students unless the student has designated you as an authorized user. And students will need to add anyone as an authorized user who is going to be responsible for payments. And we'll talk a little bit more about how you can add those authorized users coming up in just a few minutes. Right now, I know a lot of you may be coming in later this month, early next month for summer start. So we're going to transition in a few moments to the general fall and spring information, but I want to begin with summer start. Tuition and fees for summer start students are due June 24th. Most of those students have received their enrollments, their registrations from the Summer Start program, and most of those bills are available now in IORE, so the tuition for Summer Start due on June 24th. And due to the accelerated schedule of Summer Start, we do not have any payment plans available for Summer Start during the summer term. Generally, we would need payment for that by June 24th, and you can, of course, contact our office to discuss methods of how to do that if you're still unsure, but that due date for Summer Start is June 24th. Most of the remainder of the information does concern everyone as we go forward into fall, and we'll begin by talking about fall tuition and fees payment. As you can see here, the fall 25 bills will be available to you in late July. They'll be due for payment or enrollment in a payment plan by August 14th. The bills will post to IROR in late July. We do not have final numbers at this point in time. Those will be forthcoming. Being a state agency, there's a lot of interaction that goes on between our Board of Trustees and the Budget and Control Board down in Columbia. So we do not have all of the final numbers yet, but we will be putting those out as soon as we do. However, we do have some good estimations online. If you'll take a look at our tuition and fee calculator on the SFS website, or various other tools that may be available to you, but we'll get those final fees for fall 25 and spring 26 posted as soon as possible. But the bill is going to include all of the academic charges, the tuition, the mandatory fees, as well as housing if you're living on-campus housing. And if you have a meal plan, those dining costs will be available there as well. Our bill does not include books. That varies so much between the requirements of one professor to the next, so we do not bill for books or supplies. That is the responsibility of each individual student, so those things are not included on the bill. Neither is transportation. We accept all major credit and debit cards with a 3% non-refundable processing fee for domestic cards. If it's an international card, it's a 4.25% processing fee. These are non-refundable, and because of that fee, we do recommend that you use an e-check payment method as much as possible, because there's no additional fees with an electronic check payment. You're simply paying whatever the balance is, or whatever you input into the payment box in the system there if you use an e-check. We also take money orders, cashier's checks. We do not accept any cash for payment on the student bill, but definitely that preferred method is the electronic check, both for you and for us here in the office as well. We accept prepaid plans from South Carolina, Texas, Florida. Those are the big three, but from any state. And if you have such prepaid plan, and we're not talking about a 529 here, this is a state prepaid plan. If you fall into that category, I want to throw out an email address for you here. You can email your prepaid letter or card. You can go ahead and do that to prepaid plans, that is plural, prepaid plans at Clemson.edu. And of course, I also want to mention, with any communication with our office, please include the student's name and the student's ID number. That's the number with the C and 8 digits. And include that with any communication that you send to us. A lot of folks pay using the 529 plans from various state treasury departments. If you're paying via a 529, if you've been putting money into that for years, then when those bills come out, contact your 529 and tell them what you want to send to Clemson. And normally they'll send us a check. Again, make sure the 529 puts that student ID on it. And don't delay on those once the bill comes out. They can take some time for those physical checks to get here, and you'd still be responsible for payments even if you've sent a 529 in and it hasn't arrived yet. If it's not in the office, we would have to find another route through a payment plan or something to secure the account. Some 529 plans can electronically submit payment, and you can ask yours if they do, and if they do, they should have all the information for Clemson on hand already to be able to do so. But even if they won't send it electronically to us, most of them are recommending that they send the funds by direct deposit to your personal bank account. which would enable you to then log in and make an e-check payment and eliminate that mail transit time that sometimes causes issues. And this would not have any adverse impact on your taxes, as the 529 would give you a tax form at the end of the year with what you withdrew from them. So you can mail 529 checks and outside scholarships to our general mailing address with the student ID at G-08 Sykes Hall, Clemson, South Carolina 29634, and we'll have that for you on the screen here at the end of the presentation. And again, just make sure if you issue a 529 or a personal check that student ID is somewhere on there. We don't want to be scrambling around and have someone late on payment because we can't locate the recipient of the payment. Again, we don't accept any cash. We do accept outside scholarships, as I mentioned just a few moments ago. So if you have an organization that is helping to fund your students' education in any way, or if you have questions about it, I want to throw that email out to you as well. That's outside scholarships, and that is plural, outside scholarships at clemson.edu, and they can answer any of your questions. And again, the scholarships that we're talking about now are non-state, non-federal scholarships. These would be more club and organization scholarships that have awarded something to your student. I want to talk for a moment about authorized users. You'll have to excuse me. Authorized users and how those play a part in your access as a parent to billing information. FERPA, you can think of as the educational equivalent of HIPAA, which we're all familiar with. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, signed into law by President Ford back in 1974. And due to the guidelines set forth in that law, we are limited with what information we can share unless the student has made you an authorized user. We cannot give you any billing information, any payment records, anything about the tuition bill or payment history or tax information. We cannot share any of that with you unless the student has designated you as an authorized user. So if you call our office, we can provide some general information or answer some hypothetical questions for you, but we couldn't give anything specific if you're not an authorized user. And I also want to point out that being an authorized user only gives you access to billing and payment information, does not let you see any grades or enrollment information or any academic records. If you're in need of something like that, you can contact various offices and see what their policies are. All offices handle FERPA regulations differently, and Anna's going to talk about how they do it in financial aid coming up here in just a few minutes. The authorized user, though, would have access, as I mentioned, to the bill. You can make payments on the bill. You can set up payment plans, view 1098-T tax information if the student has clicked that box when they add you. For a student to add an authorized user, they simply go into their IORE billing page or their IORE, click on the student billing tab, select My Bill, and then that'll take them to the main billing page where they'll see authorized users on the right side of the page, and they'll enter your name and an email address, which will be the authorized user's username, and the authorized user will then receive an email with instructions on how to log into their account. And of course, if you have any questions along the way for that, we'll be here to help you at Student Financial Services. I wanted to show you here a screen image of a sample bill. This is the student view. So this is what a student would see if they log into their bill. And if you see on the left side here, and it looks somewhat similar in the parent portal as well, but there's a little more here for the student side. If you look on, if you're looking at the screen on the left-hand side, you'll see the announcement bar. That is where you can find important dates or important deadlines. This is a screenshot from the summer term that we're in right now. And as you can see at the top, it says the payment deadline for summer is Wednesday, May 7th. Now that's for anyone, that's not including summer start, but this is traditional summer students. And it tells you information about the non-refundable late fee on unpaid accounts and some information on how you can mail your check or pay your bill online there. So we have that announcements column. So that's a good place to check for any dates, for any upcoming deadlines. Across that top purple bar there, you can make a payment, set up a payment plan. even do admissions deposits there. Get information on setting up an electronic refund account. There's a help button to send our office an email. In the center portion of the screen, you'll see student account, and we've done a whiteout over this particular student's um, student ID number, their FERPA, once again. So we've done a whiteout over that, but this is where the student ID, the C number would appear. So again, if you call us, we're going to need your student's ID number. Starts with a C followed by 8 digits. Some parents will just need to, get the student to share those with you so you'll have it on hand. Maybe you could write it down on a notepad or something, or keep it in your phone for the event that you have to call us. In the account balance section, you'll see the balance that's due on the bill for this particular student. It's some odd $4,600. There's a button there to view activity. That would give you kind of an itemization of the bill and what's going into creating that balance. There's a button to enroll in a payment plan, or the orange button to just make a payment. This particular student was enrolled in a payment plan, so you see that information in kind of the center part of the center screen there. The student was enrolled in a payment plan. They have an installment coming up on June 15th for the full amount. And if they want to pay it off early, they can click that pay next. If it's like a 4 payment plan in summer, they can click pay next installment and pay that early. If they don't want it to auto draft on the specified date, or they could click the button and just pay off the entire plan early if they want to. And you'll notice at the bottom it says balance not included in the plan, 0. So their entire account is in the payment plan. Below that, you see statements, and this is the kind of shaded in blue is the section there that says on-demand statement. That's where you would click if you wanted to get a real-time statement on letterhead if you need something. If there's been an update between the normal statement periods, you can click that anytime and get an updated statement for you. The latest e-bill statement, that's the monthly statements, that is listed below there. And then the 1098-T tax statements that come out at the end of each January is where you'll find those. In the My Profile Setup section on the right of the page, this is the button where a student would add an authorized user at the top, edit their personal profile information, and at the very bottom, electronic refunds. If a student wants to enter their bank routing number and account number, so if we have any overage to send back, we can do that via direct deposit. We'll talk about refunds coming up here in just a few minutes. Now, again, this is the student view. So the authorized user is not going to see the 1098-T information that I showed you unless the student clicks that you are authorized to view that information, and it's a button they can click or a box they can check when they add you as an authorized user. So even if you are an authorized user, for instance, we cannot discuss the tax information if the student has not specifically given you the right to view the 1098-T. We'll talk a little bit more about refunds, like I said, in just a moment, but I want you to keep in mind as we go forward that students are the only ones generally who can add an e-refund account. Since you are paying on their behalf, we refund any overage on their behalf, so they have to be the ones to set up where that refund goes. There is one exception, which we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. But first, I want to talk about payment plans. Payment plans are available when bills are released. So when those bills come out in late July, at that moment in time, payment plans will be open on the student billing page. The 4 payment plan is the one we focus on. It requires auto draft authorization and a $75 non-refundable enrollment fee. And those payments will be auto drafted the first Friday of each month, August through November. Again, we encourage e-check. Credit cards and 529s do not work well with the 4 payment plan because the credit card is going to charge you that 3% with each installment. And the 529s, with the timing of those, just doesn't really work well with 529s. So the e-check method is by far the best method to go with if you're using a payment plan. So we encourage that, and it won't cost you anything additional, like other than the $75 processing fee, which is one time, by the way, at the start of the payment plan. You do have to set up a payment plan each semester if you're going to use one. In other words, we don't roll them over. If you use a payment plan in fall, and you come around to spring, you're going to have to set up the payment plan and pay the $75 again, because we don't continue those because situations and circumstances may change. So you would have to set this up at the start of each semester. And for our area, the last thing we want to talk about is refunds. The student refunds will be dispersed the first week of classes for the fall semester. I think we'll probably do 2 refund files that first week. Then we'll get on our regular schedule, which would be refund files every Tuesday. As things change, a student who may have not had a refund that first week may be expecting one later on, and as their circumstances changed. And so we generally process those on Tuesdays of each week. And you don't have to do anything much. If there's an overage, the system will automatically generate the refund. The only thing the student would need to do is set up that electronic refund on the IORE billing page if they want it direct deposited into a bank account. Parents, it can be your bank account. It could be a bank account owned by the student, just as long as it's a U.S. bank account. Get the routing number, the account number, and that's the first thing the system checks for, is the student equipped with electronic refund, and they'll direct deposit those. If the student does not have direct deposit, then a paper check is sent out in the student's name to the permanent address on file in our system. So make sure with your student that that is all up to date as well. Now, I mentioned there was one exception to the student being the only one who can set up the e-refund. That one exception is if your bill is paid by the Parent Plus loan, and the Parent Plus loan is what created the overage. Generally, those would have to go to the borrower of the loan. So if the borrower of the loan is also an authorized user and the information matches what's on the loan application, the authorized user in their portal can set up e-refund for overage due to the Parent Plus loan. But if you set up the e-refund in an authorized user portal and the refund is coming from another source like the Life Scholarship or the Pell Grant, then that's not gonna work in that situation. It's gonna still go to however the student has this set up. So the authorized user can only set up e-refund if the overage is coming from the Parent Plus loan. We are not allowed to hold credits for future semesters. So if you log in and you see your student has a $2,000 credit that hasn't been refunded yet, just know that that refund will be forthcoming. We're not able to transfer that over or credit it to the next semester. That has to be refunded to you. So we get a lot of questions about that. So just wanted to make you aware of that. And we do encourage students, though, to sign up for direct deposit. It's just an easier way for us to get the money to you. Again, you don't have to worry about a check getting lost in the mail. And generally, in most cases, we process the file on Tuesday. The student has it in their bank account the next morning in most cases. And Anna, I think that's going to do it for what we have here for financial services. We're going to transition over to the financial aid portion. I know you guys may have a lot of questions. We'll try to get to those in the chat and at the end as we go along. But Anna, I'm going to turn it over to you and tell folks how they can get some financial aid.
Okay, I will try, Chris. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Again, I am Anna Lewis, and I work in financial aid. There's so many of you in this. There's over 600 people here, and I'm going to try very hard not to talk really fast and also do my best to give an overview of what is quite complicated, actually, the aid that we are able to offer you to afford your college experience here at Clemson. Financial aid is complicated. We work with federal, state, university, and private aid. When I say federal, some people may not even know what that means. So if you are going through this college application and enrollment process for the very first time, you may be very unfamiliar with how federal aid works, scholarships work, etc. So we determine your federal aid eligibility based on what is called the FAFSA. That stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And it is something that I am going to say a lot in this presentation because it is very integral to what we do here in our office. So again, that's the FAFSA. It's very difficult to say, but again, I'm going to repeat it many times. So we also award our state scholarships here in the office. That's what I typically coordinate will be the Live Palmetto Fellows and Hope scholarships. We also determine university scholarship awards and amounts and make sure that everybody meets renewal requirements. And then for private aid, we will process some of those bigger private scholarships as well here. We also work with grants, loans, and work study. And then we also house the residency classification office here in financial aid, and we haven't figured out why. It just doesn't really fit anywhere else. But what that office does is it determines whether or not you should be considered in state for tuition and fee purposes. So if you need to verify your residency, you'll have to go through our office and submit a bunch of documents to say that you've been a resident for long enough to be considered a South Carolina resident for tuition and also state scholarship purposes. All right, Chris? So before we get into all the different types of aid and how it works, we are going to mention how we communicate with students, which is very similar to the billing office in that we will email them. So please make sure that students are checking their emails. By and large, we are sending them important information that we need them to either submit or look at to make sure that all of their aid is applied or processed. Again, we only email our students. Now, we are happy to talk to parents, guardians, spouses about students' aid, but only if they complete what we call our FERPA form. So, like Chris was talking about, we're mandated by the federal government to keep student information private. But students can sign the FERPA form, give us the information for the parents that they want us to talk to, give us the full name, last four of their social. So that way, if you want to call in and talk about your student's aid, you just need to let us know who you are, your relationship to the student, and then the last four of your social. And we're happy to discuss specifics about their loan and where that is in the process, or whether or not their life is applied to their bill, all of those things. But again, you need to submit that. It is located in the IORE account. This is something that Chris has mentioned over and over again. And by and large, it is how students will navigate much of their life here at Clemson. So they need to be familiar with how to get into their IORE account and then navigate to all the necessary areas. So the FERPA form will be under the financial aid tab in the unsatisfied requirement section. So it will show up as a form, and then they'll just submit that information. And then should you call in with any questions, we can talk about specifics regarding your student. If you have questions about general things like where do I complete a FAFSA, which is studentaid.gov, by the way, if you've yet to do that, or what types of private loans should I consider if we're going abroad in Croatia in fall of 26? We could answer those questions, but nothing specific to your student unless we have that form on file. Okay? So we will start by discussing summer aid. So this is the first time we're really addressing summer start programs just because we are assuming that many of you here, and I've noticed in the questions that some of you guys have students and or are students who will be starting here at Clemson over the summer. The way summer works is it is extremely fast because you have to enroll in classes, bills go live, and you've got to pay soon. And so we know that some of you may be semi-panicking about making sure that your aid is in place, and that is completely understandable. So for students who are participating in our summer start programs, please make sure that you've completed the 24-25 FAFSA. We understand that you're a new incoming student for next year and you just happen to be starting in the summer, but the federal academic aid year for the summer program is the fall 24, spring 25, and summer 25 term. So you need to go in and complete that FAFSA if you haven't already. Now, what you might be eligible for over the summer start program would be the $5,500 in federal direct student loans if you've completed that FAFSA and you're enrolled in 6 or more hours for the summer. So those student loans will only pay out if you're enrolled in at least 6 hours. Based on your need that you have on your FAFSA, you might qualify for a Pell Grant. It'll be based on, your income, obviously, and whether or not you're needy, according to the federal government. And then the amount you receive will be based also on the number of hours in which you're enrolled. For Global Start students, since they are only participating in a 3-hour program that's abroad, you will not qualify for federal loans since you're not in 6 hours. But if you needed to secure a loan to cover your costs for the summer, you would want to maybe go through Sallie Mae, which is a private lender, and they will award loans that are under 6 hours. If you have completed a FAFSA and you have financial need that's evident, you might qualify for a Pell Grant that would travel with you for that Global Start program. It's just going to be based off of the information that we receive from your FAFSA. For STEM Start students, I don't know if any of you are in here, you will be eligible for the federal loans if you've completed a FAFSA and are in 6 hours. And I believe you'll also be getting some type of university funded grant to cover your tuition for the summer. So again, that's very program specific and only available for those STEM Start students. I think that is it for summer. Again, if you are a summer start student and you haven't done the 24-25 FAFSA, please do that today. It doesn't take very long now that you're able to import tax information. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already. So now we will move on to scholarships, which is everybody's favorite type of financial aid, simply because it's free money. And we will start with our state scholarships. So for South Carolina residents, you may qualify for one of the 3 types of state scholarship programs. That's Palmetto Fellows, Life, or the Hope Scholarship. For Life and Hope students, Clemson University determines your eligibility for those scholarships. So if you meet the criteria coming out of high school, we will have already awarded you Life and Hope. So please log into IORE. Again, I'm going to say IORE a lot. And take a look to see if you have gotten that state scholarship. It should be posted in an offered status to you. You will go in, you will see your Life and or Hope, and you will accept that award in IORE. Palmetto Fellows has also already been awarded if the Commission on Higher Education has approved you as a Palmetto Fellow and you have been updated in their website as Palmetto Fellow eligible. So if you already know that you've met the criteria and your counselor has submitted your Palmetto Fellows paperwork to CHE, that's again the Commission on Higher Education, they just may not have updated it in their portal yet, and or we may just have not downloaded it into ours. So there is a gap of time there that does happen because of the processing time, but we will get that updated for you as soon as possible. If it's been a number of weeks and you've already been approved by the state for your Palmetto Fellow Scholarship and you're not yet seeing it in IORE, do send us an email. Sometimes there's a misspelling. There's not a completely one-to-one match for us to be able to pull it easily, and I can manually look for you and post it if it's been a while and it's still not posting. We might have some transfer students in the meeting now. We are working on transfer student state scholarship eligibility. For the Life Scholarship, what that requires is our transfer admissions office receives all of your college transcripts. They review that. They calculate all the hours that you've earned, your GPA, and then we will post Life based on receiving every single transcript that you've had from college, even dual enrollment. So note if you're a transfer student and you are waiting for your Life review, make sure that you have submitted all of your college transcripts to us so that we can do that properly. We are in the process of doing that, so don't panic if you don't see your Life Scholarship. It does take time for us to pull all that information in and take a look at it, but we are actively working on transfer students as well. So many of those Life scholarships should already be posted. We started working on that last week. For Palmetto Fellow students who are transferring to Clemson, it's a completely different process. What needs to happen is you have to apply to transfer your Palmetto Fellows from your old school to Clemson. So you need to do that through the Commission on Higher Education. There's a portal for you to use to then ask them to transfer it to Clemson, at which point they'll email me. I will review you to make sure that you still meet the renewal requirements, and then it'll get posted. It's a bit of a time-consuming process, but it has to all be approved by the state. For students who have a university scholarship, that is already also in your IORE account. So if you met the academic requirements to receive a recruiting scholarship from Clemson, that should be posted. Not only will that have been posted in IORE in your financial aid section, but you would have been notified at the time of admissions that you would be eligible for a merit-based scholarship. So all of those have been awarded, and at this point, we get this question the most out of all questions. We don't have any more scholarship funding in the recruiting realm to award more. So I know a lot of people will ask, well, hey, I know not everybody decided to come to Clemson, so will that money now be available for my student? And the answer is sadly no, that we always award far more scholarships than we could afford to pay out at the time of admission and sending out those scholarships, because we do anticipate not all students will accept them. So we anticipate that amount of melt, and that has happened. So all university scholarships have been awarded and posted. Again, Chris has already talked about the outside scholarship process, but if you are getting a scholarship from your employer, your grandmother's garden club, wherever, all of those outside scholarship checks need to be directed to the billing office. And so there is that address again. I know I saw a number of people in chat wanting to see that address about where to mail checks. There it is. If you have questions about where your scholarship is, why it hasn't posted to the bill, etc., please reach out to that email address, outsidescholarships@clemson.edu, and they'll be able to take a look at that for you. We don't really have access to that in our office. We don't see those, we don't touch those. Those go directly to billing. Okay, so now we'll talk about grants. Grants are another form of free money, so it's nothing that you have to pay back, but grants are based on need. And the only way that we are able to determine a student's need is if you have completed the FAFSA. So we base your federal, South Carolina, and university grant eligibility on the SAI, which is the Student Aid Index number that we receive from the federal government. So we can't assess whether or not you're a needy student unless you complete one of those. Now, federal grants include the Pell Grant or the SEOG grant. There are also South Carolina need-based grants that are available to students who qualify. And then university grants are awarded to out-of-state students who meet a certain need threshold. And we're also awarded a merit-based scholarship. Now, it is important to note that many of these grants, especially the federal grant and the South Carolina need-based grant, are time sensitive. So especially South Carolina, we run out of those funds. So make sure that you complete your FAFSA on time every year. If you qualify for one of these, to make sure that you get it every year. All right, we will next talk about loans. So loans are not the most fun thing to talk about, but certainly are necessary for many students who attend Clemson and other institutions of higher education, just because college is not cheap. So if you've completed a FAFSA, every student is eligible to receive a student loan. That loan is in the student's name only. It, for this upcoming year, has a 6.53% interest rate. You are not required to make any payments until after you graduate, and it is $5,500 for incoming freshmen for the academic year. So keep in mind that $5,500 will be split in half. Half will go to the fall and half will go to the spring. There are two different types of federal student loans. There is an unsubsidized loan, which means that interest will start accruing on that loan as soon as the student accepts it and that loan pays out. There's also a subsidized loan, which is offered to needier students, where in which the interest does not start accruing until after the student graduates. So the interest on those loans are subsidized basically by the federal government. So some students may just see the unsubsidized loan of $5,500. Other students, based on, again, that SAI number that we get from the FAFSA, will see two separate loans, an unsubsidized loan and a subsidized loan. If you have both of those loans offered to you and you're in a position where you don't need both of them, make sure that you take that subsidized loan because it's the cheaper option. One of the other types of loans that we see often, just because it's relatively easy to apply for after you've done the FAFSA, is a Parent Plus loan. So if you have gotten your financial aid package you understand what your cost of attendance might be for next year, and you're trying to figure out, well, I can't afford, the housing or the meal plan, and I need to be able to cover that gap. You might be interested in applying for what is called a Parent Plus loan. You can do that through studentaid.gov, which is where you would have completed the FAFSA. You do have to have completed the FAFSA in order to apply for a Parent Plus loan. Unlike the federal student loans, this loan will be only in the parent's name. So this is going to be based off of the parent credit score. The parent will be responsible for paying this back, etc. For the upcoming academic year, the interest rate is going to be 9.08% interest rate. Please make sure that you go ahead and apply for these before the June 30th deadline. We have a number of loans that we process in our office, and it can be quite time consuming. So the priority deadline to make sure that it is here before bills are due is June 30th. You can go ahead and apply now. I know many of you may have already applied and are asking perhaps in the chat whether or not it's out there and why don't you see it? And that's because it's not going to be posted yet. So we're going to start posting those in the end of July. So don't panic. If you were approved for the Parent Plus loan, that will be there. If you don't want to take on that type of debt as the parent, which is fine and understandable, you may also want to push your students to apply for a private loan. There are a number of private lenders out there, and we have a website that you can go look at to see a list of all of those private educational lenders. They range from, many different banks have educational loans to credit unions to your typical like Sallie Mae educational loan. And those interest rates are going to vary based on your credit score and your student credit score if they have one. Most 18-year-olds will not. But it's just going to be based on what type of loan you're interested in and whether or not you think you might get a better interest rate doing a private loan than the Parent Plus loan, which you can see here as a 9% interest rate. A lot of people ask, well, how do I know how much to apply for? And I get that it is a little bit hard to pinpoint, and you're not going to have an exact figure because we don't have an exact amount for tuition yet. Chris already said that won't be decided until the Board of Trustees meets in July. So we don't have an exact amount for you, but we always recommend if you know that you're going to need a larger loan to cover extra expenses and up to the cost of attendance, to go ahead and request to receive the maximum amount of that loan. Because you don't know how much you're going to need. But when bills go live, your aid gets applied to that semester, you can then go, you know what, I don't need that full amount that they offered me. I actually only need, 5,000 for the fall to help me cover all of the other costs. You can have us reduce it at that time. So it's always better to apply for more than too little. So that's what we would recommend you do. We're happy to send the rest of it back to the lender so you don't take out more of a loan than you need, because you certainly don't want to have to pay more interest than you need to pay. And we can adjust it later on once you have that bill and once you have a firmer understanding of what you're actually going to owe. Okay. Now we will talk about how the aids get applied to everybody. So I've already mentioned this with regards to loan, but scholarships and grants are the exact same. So if you have logged into your IORE account and you take a look and you have 5,500 in a student loan and you've got 5,000 in a life scholarship, remember, half of that is going to apply to the fall and half of that will apply to the spring. So you'll get 2,500 in life in the fall and 2,500 for life in the spring. And typically we cannot apply, the full annual amount to one semester. That is certainly true for scholarships and mostly true for loans, with a couple of exceptions for folks who are graduating early, and or co-oping. Anyways, again, financial aid can be complicated. For the Parent Plus loan and private loans, if you apply for a full year loan, please remember half of that will go to the fall and half of it will go to the spring. You do have the option of applying for a fall only loan with both Parent Plus and private loans, and that is certainly an option. Just remember, though, that it'll be a very quick turnaround to have to apply for a spring loan before bills are due in November. So you can certainly do that, save yourself some interest cost, but then you'll have another credit pull, and then you'll have to apply for another loan for the spring if you know you're going to need a loan. So a lot of times it's just way easier to get that full year loan instead of the semester by semester. For private scholarships for students, If we receive a scholarship check from, let's say, Chick-fil-A for $1,000, we will always apply half and half. 500 the fall, 500 the spring, unless it tells us otherwise in the letter. So if you're getting an outside scholarship and they only want to pay 500 to the fall, then we will award it as instructed. But by and large, everything is split into two for the full academic year. For work study, which we will talk about later on, the work study that's been offered to you, if you have it on your account, does not actually go directly to a student's bill. It is awarded in the form of paychecks. So if you qualify for work study, that means you need to get a job on campus. We'll help you and email you about what jobs are available to you, and then you get paid, basically. The federal government subsidizes a portion of your paycheck. That's how that works. All right. So as we just talked about work study, in order to qualify for work study, you needed to have said on the FAFSA that you were interested in a work study position, and your SAI, that student aid index, needs to be 10,000 or less on your FAFSA in order for you to be offered work study. If you see it in your IORE account and you've accepted it, you'll get an email from us sometime in July about applying for on-campus employment. And if you're interested, submit an application. You will, I assume, go through the interview process, and then you'll be able to work, maybe even in our office, because we hire work study students here, and you can learn all about financial aid. And I know that you really want to do that. If you're interested in on-campus jobs but did not qualify for work study, you can apply as just a basic student worker. You would go through the Career Center, and you would look for jobs there. The reason that work study almost guarantees a position is because it's a lot cheaper for departments to hire work study students because their paycheck is subsidized by the federal government. And so, but there are other jobs available on campus for other students. Again, you might qualify for another job. Not all hope is lost. So now we will discuss residency, because I did see a number of questions in the chat about this. And it is a topic that a lot of people are interested in. And it's one that doesn't make many people happy because, yes, it's complicated. So if you have applied for admission to Clemson and we have put your residency into question, meaning there was something on your admissions application that made us go, they might not meet the law of South Carolina residency, we need to verify them, then you need to submit all of your paperwork to our office so that we can make sure that you are indeed a South Carolina resident and you should be charged in-state tuition and or receive a state scholarship. South Carolina residency law prohibits any students who are considered dependent, which would be almost all students under the age of 24, from establishing residency on their own. If you are an out-of-state student and you are moving to Clemson to come to school here, you should assume that you will always be considered an out-of-state student for tuition and fees purposes for your entire tenure at Clemson University. It's very difficult to establish residency here unless you're independently wealthy and you live off campus and you're just here because you want to attend some college classes. So as an out-of-state student, if you're accepted as such, you should assume to always remain that. Now, if your parents relocate, it is a bit of a different story. Your parents can certainly take all of the necessary steps to get their license, their vehicles registered, et cetera, start paying South Carolina taxes, and then you could submit an application to our office for us to change your residency classification so that you're no longer billed as an out-of-state student. For active military members, veterans, and dependents who are receiving VA benefits and or are stationed in South Carolina, you will receive an out-of-state tuition waiver, which means that you'll still be billed as an out-of-state student, but that you will get a waiver to cover the out-of-state tuition differential. Therefore, you will be charged basically as an in-state student. Yes. And I know that we'll get more of those questions because it always raises a bunch of questions. But yeah, residency can be complicated. Go ahead, Chris. All right, so for next steps, I have talked about IORE a million times. But it is essentially what every student needs to look at in order to see their aid, but also see if we need anything else from them. So there are certain scholarships and grants and everything that will not pay out if there are some unsatisfied requirements still missing. So, for example, students who met life scholarship requirements based on their GPA and high school rank, if your high school did not submit a final ranking report to the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education, then your life scholarship isn't going to pay out because I had to verify that you were in the top 30% of your high school class. You might have to go through verification for your federal aid. So please make sure that your student checks their unsatisfied requirements section of IORE in financial aid to make sure we're not asking for additional documents. Please make sure that you accept your scholarships or loans if you want them. Every year, there are students who fail to accept a state scholarship, and that free money just gets lost. And it boggles the mind. Please make sure that you understand that you have to go in and accept your awards. If you know that you want to use your federal student loans that are being offered to you, you need to accept those in IORE. And then you also need to go into your studentaid.gov login and complete the MPN or the loan agreement, and also do the entrance loan counseling. Your loans, even if you accept them in IORE, will not pay out until you do those two things on that website. So please make sure that you do that. If you've already done that and you're still seeing that as an unsatisfied requirement, please note we will pull those in later and that you've already done what you needed to do, and don't worry about it. You don't need to ask us a million times where it is. We'll pull that data in from the website and you should be fine. We've talked about covering the gap a little bit when we were on the loan slide. Again, if you know that you're not going to be able to pay for the full cost of tuition and you're going to need an additional loan, please apply for your private loan or Parent Plus loan by June 30th, or both, if you want to see what interest rates are competitive. June 30th is that deadline to ensure that it's here on time before bills are due. Since most of you are incoming freshmen or transfer students, you will meet with an advisor and you will most likely get your course schedule set up in 12 hours or more going forward. Almost all aid requires that you're in at least 12 hours, especially scholarships. So, for next year and the next year, when you're actually going online and registering for your own classes, make sure that you're in 12 hours because it will hold up some of your aid. So make sure that you finalize your schedule. So thinking ahead, please make sure that you continue to monitor your bill as they come out. I know that they haven't come out yet, but when they do, take a look at it. You should see financial aid credits on there or adjustments if it's been approved. So you'll see what you owe less the negative amount from your financial aid. Make sure also that you are aware of any conditions for your scholarships. So university aid, university scholarships, grants, state scholarships, all have renewal requirements. So if you were offered a Clemson University scholarship, you are required to complete 24 hours every single academic year, which is pretty easy if you're full-time, 12 hours and 12 hours, 12 hours in the fall, 12 hours in the spring, and make sure that you maintain a 3.0 Clemson GPA. For Palmetto Fellows, you have to earn 30 hours every single academic year and maintain a 3.0 Clemson GPA. So that's 15 hours typically in the fall and 15 hours in the spring. You can obviously do 16 and 14, however you want to work it, but 30 hours every academic year. If you can't do it over a regular academic year, which would be fall and spring, you can make up those hours over that following summer term. Please note, if you're in summer start, the hours that you earn in this summer session sadly do not count for Palmetto Fellows and University scholarship purposes for fall and spring of next year. So if you're a Palmetto Fellow student in summer start, you still need to earn 30 hours between fall and spring of next year. For life students, it's a little bit different and slightly wonky. The state likes to make it really hard for us to determine renewal eligibility. For life scholarship students, it requires an average of 30 hours. And so this includes all dual enrollment classes, all AP work. If you do summer start, that is included in your 30 average hours as well. So by the end of your freshman year, as long as you've earned 30 total hours, including all of those things I just mentioned, you will be meeting the hourly requirement. And you also have to have a 3.0 all college GPA. So let's say you took some dual enrollment credits at, I don't know, Trident Tech. That will be included in your GPA calculation for your life scholarship renewal. So just keep that in mind. The FAFSA for the following academic year, okay, I don't even want to think about it, will open this fall. So if you want to make sure that you are on top of things, go ahead and submit your FAFSA for 2026-27 in October of this year. The deadline for returning students to get that FAFSA submitted will be April of next year. So especially if you qualify for those grants, please make sure that you submit your FAFSA by April 1 of next year. And I think that that is it for me. And I know I missed a lot of things, but Chris, Amy, Christy, do we have any questions that we need to talk about?
We have many questions,
I
Amy.
assumed as much. Okay.
Some of these are federal. Ooh,
Yeah.
my buttons are not where I'm sorry. I'm fancy on the buttons right now. Some of
Mhm.
these are federal, so I'm going to take those.
Yeah, please.
Um, so I'm going to hold on. Let me scroll back to the top because we have many that I said I would answer
Okay.
live. Um, and for folks who are raising their hands, we are not going to call on you per se, but if you want to go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A feature, we'll go ahead and answer those for you. Because both the video and the audio have been disabled for this webinar. All right, so one of the questions is, do you have any aid for purchasing books like other universities? Not necessarily, no. So if your financial aid is in excess to what your bill is, your student will receive a refund, and then they can use that refund to go ahead and purchase their books, supplies, anything else they need that they're not being billed for by the university. And then I have a question. I got this one several times, is I know there is a FERPA form for colleges, such as the one for colleges, the College of Engineering. Is there another FERPA form for general things like financial aid? Yes, there is. So the federal law, that FERPA law requires each office to administer sort of the FERPA waiver policy in their own way. For example, you're not going to talk to the College of Engineering about your tax return. You should not be talking to the College of Engineering about your tax return, just FYI. But you will be talking to us about that in some situations. So in that way, yes. So each office does that independently. And so what Chris mentioned at the top of the program is they handle that by offering the authorized user portal to handle the billing office's portion of that. And our office, Student Financial Aid, offers a FERPA waiver form, which is on the student's IORE account. They just log in. It's a very quick click and an online form where they indicate the folks with whom they would like to grant access and the last four of their social security number. And that allows those folks to contact our office via email or phone and chat with us about the student's account on their behalf. So I hope that helps. And then this one is a very popular question, Robert Crawford. So number star for you. Every single every single session, this happens all the time, and it's because there is a delay. So students starting when they got offered their aid. Some of our very best students went ahead and completed their entrance loan counseling and signed their master promissory note on the studentaid.gov site. And we love that and we appreciate that because your kid is not the one we're asking to please do those things in August. The challenge is there is a bit of a delay there. So we will not begin to even be able to download that information and those confirmations from the Department of Education until about July 1. So if your student has done both of those things, they have their email confirmations and they still get the once every 3 weeks reminder email, they can ignore that. They're fine. If that is the only thing outstanding on their IROR account, just know that that will be automatically updated on or about July 1. So I hope that helps. I had a couple questions about the FAFSA being based on 2023 income and who to reach out to if income has changed. So this is called a special conditions appeal. So in situations such as a change in a marital status, death of a parent, job loss, or either unemployment or underemployment, significant underemployment, the student can reach out to us via email. We will add that appeal form to their IROR account. and that is going to go ahead and gather lots of documents. We're going to ask for 23, 24, year-to-date 25 income information, tax returns, things like that. If it's the case of, let's say, a divorce of parents, we're going to ask for both the divorce decree and the separation agreement, because the parent on the FAFSA is the parent who provided more than 50% of the student's support. So we're going to look at that and determine whose income we need to remove, right? And then we will go ahead and reevaluate the student's federal aid eligibility. What we are looking at is a student's eligibility for the federal Pell Grant. So if this reduction in income brings them into that federal eligibility range, for timing purposes, they can reach out to us now. Totally fine. We will add that to the IORE account. But for timing, we do not start reviewing those until after the start of the school year in the fall. For us, summer is y'all are going to the beach. We are very, very busy in the summer. That is our very busiest time of year. And so we will not start looking at those until after the start of the school year in the fall, usually after about September 15th or so. And I always tell parents, there's no guarantee that your student will be eligible for Pell Grant funding after submitting an appeal. So I encourage everyone to go ahead and make the plans, financial plans, build that financial framework based on your student's current aid offer. And if they are eligible for the federal Pell Grant, even though the bill has already been paid, we will retroactively apply that for fall and it'll be ready to go in the spring. So it's not something that they need to really worry about. Just as it is, though, that their bill needs to be paid as it is. And if they get additional funding later in the academic year, when we review that, we'll go ahead and add it to their account. If their account is zero, then that will result in a refund. And so they will be issued a refund for that additional aid that we've added. So I hope that helps. It says, if your student takes the unsubsidized loan, can you pay interest monthly so it doesn't drastically increase the overall loan balance by graduation? Heather, you are a delight. Yes, absolutely. Please do that. I often say, I'm like, do you want a birthday gift for little tiny darling freshmen? Please pay their interest rate because those compound daily. And so, yes, you could absolutely make payments at any time. The student can, you can, whomever can make payments at any time. What they'll need to do, there's a small little caveat here to figure out who their lender is. When they first get a loan, they'll receive an email from the federal government, from studentaid.gov. And once that loan has dispersed at the start of fall semester, it will tell them, Dear Anna, your loan of $5,500 has been given to Nelnet. So now you know that that student's loan is with Nelnet. So because you don't contact the Department of Ed to pay the loan, you contact the lender that the federal government has contracted to administer that repayment. So yeah, you'll just work with that lender and go ahead and create an account on their website and you'll pay as you like. I applied for a private loan for summer start. When will I see that has been applied? Okay, so private loans take a hot minute to process. So depending on when that was, it can take a couple weeks for that to process. We put the disbursement date. There's some federal regulations surrounding when we can create a disbursement date once we have a loan. And once we process that, we create our disbursement date for the earliest possible date that the federal government allows us to do that. So typically, my general rule of thumb is once it's been processed, your lender will send you an email with a disbursement date. Say the disbursement date is June 5th, tomorrow, for example. You can go ahead and confidently add 3 business days. And this is more than you ever wanted to know about lending. But with a private loan, those funds go into a clearinghouse. They have to sit there for 72 hours before we can remove them. So go ahead and confidently add 3 business days to the disbursement date, and that's when the loan's going to pay. Of course, you can email us anytime and we will happily look at it for you. If there's something wonky or missing, we're happy to do that for you. All right. What else? I applied for a private loan for summer. All right, we already did that. Love it. Done. How are need-based grants awarded? Okay, so need-based funding is that is based on the information provided on the FAFSA. There is no hard and fast rule. I am happy to provide the federal eligibility worksheet, which is about 20 pages long. If y'all want to go see how convoluted that eligibility criteria actually is, I can do that. When I'm done with this, I will pop it into the chat. I have it open on a tab here. But what it's looking at is a student's the family income for a student, and then determining if they meet the federal criteria for need-based grant funding. So all it takes is the student to complete the FAFSA. That's all the student needs to do. And I put it in the chat right there for anyone that wants to nerd out and do some hand calculations of a FAFSA. That would be awesome. So that happens and then I'll answer. Oh, Christy's answering this, but I always say to every parent, someone was asking about when spring bills are due. So bills are always due the Thursday prior to classes starting. Classes always start on a Wednesday. Bills are always due the Wednesday before or the Thursday before. Hey, Anna, are scholarships available for second year students based on their grade from the first year?
Sometimes. So yes and no. We do have some endowments that are specifically earmarked for returning students. So those would be our students who are entering their sophomore through senior year, that are based on any number of things that a donor wanted to fund. So let's say they wanted to award scholarships to female engineering majors who are from Oconee County, then that is available if that scholarship exists, and we will award the most eligible student. So yes, there is a potential for a student to qualify for something down the road. I will say that there is not much funding for those. It is few and far between, very competitive, and also not a lot of money typically. Usually those scholarships range from about 1,000 to 2,000 for every academic year. So if you're an out-of-state student and you think that you are going to, perform super well and that you're going to qualify for like 10 to 20,000 the next year because you're just such a stellar student, that doesn't typically happen here at Clemson. It might at other schools, but that is not how we award students. By and large, the majority of our scholarship funding goes to our incoming freshman class. So if you weren't awarded a scholarship as an incoming freshman, unfortunately, most of the time you won't get one while you're here, but some of you will. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think you did great. I'm going to hold on one second. So I did get a question. So Chris and Christy, are there any issues with splitting payments, partial 529 plan and partial personal checks?
No issue at all with that. You just have your 529 plan, send their payment to Clemson, and then you can go online and make a payment or whatever you want to do, but there's no issue at all with making partial payments as long as you're paid in full or enrolled in a payment plan by the payment due date.
Perfect. Thank you. And the other one is, are you able to make payments anytime outside the scheduled dates for the payment plan?
Yes, you can pay ahead. You'll be able to see that in the authorized user portal or the IORE portal for the students, or you can mail in a check. You just have to be sure that if you are on a payment plan that you pay the entire amount that's due by the payment due date. If you pay extra, it'll chip away at the next payment, but that's absolutely fine.
Perfect. And I have one here, and I'm pretty sure, Anna, you already addressed this, but will there be scholarship opportunities with help from Clemson prior to fall enrollment?
So again, all of our scholarships should be awarded outside of those state scholarships that we're still either reviewing because we're waiting on college transcripts from dual enrollment and whatnot, or we're waiting for Palmetto Fellows approval through CHE. But any university scholarships, by and large, have been awarded, with the exception of some programs like ROTC. So if you know that you're getting a full waiver through like Army or Air Force ROTC, those haven't been applied yet. Those are typically applied in June or July. But as far as any other like academic recruiting scholarship funding, I wouldn't expect any of that unless you're a STEM Start student, and then that'll get applied once we get that list.
That's perfect. That answers two questions because somebody else was asking about ROTC.
Cool.
And my favorite one is, can parents check requirements in IROR? They cannot. So
No.
students only have access to IROR. So, and that is because, as I mentioned earlier, we deal with very sensitive information in our office. We have access to parent tax returns, and sometimes, I mean, regardless, FERPA does not allow us to do that, but it's especially because we have such sensitive information. And in cases of parents who are not married to one another or estranged or divorced, we do not want to be part and party to any of that. And so that's why only students are able to log into their FAFSA to check their outstanding requirements. Of course, your student is more than able to hop on a Zoom with you and share their screen and walk through exactly what it is they are missing. Because a lot of times we are asking for students to provide information from the parent. So of course those conversations need to happen, but the student will actually be initiating that process, not the parent. And then how do we find a good estimate of costs to use when applying for loans? Okay, Lisa, this is a great question. And I think Anna sort of touched on it earlier. So we do not have the 25-26 cost of attendance posted yet. And that is because as a public school or any school, we are sort of at the behest of the South Carolina State Legislature. And so they have not yet done their 25-26 budget for the 25-26 school year. So once they complete their budget, they will send their budget allocation over to Clemson and to, every other school in the state. And from there, our board of trustees reviews that information and then and determines what, if any, change needs to be made to our tuition and fee schedule for the following academic year. And so once we have that, it goes to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees then makes their determination of what needs to happen for the following school year to meet the financial needs of the university and the students. And that's when we are able to go ahead and update that cost of attendance. That usually happens right before bills come out or as bills come out, right? Because the billing office can't send their bills until they know how much to charge, and we can't update the cost of attendance until we know how much we are charging. So that all happens in about mid to late July. So I hope that helps. And also for good cost, I guess to go back to the question, you can use our current year, which is 24-25. It is posted on our website under estimated cost of attendance. It's a good framework to go on. I know nothing about what next year looks like, but I will offer that for in-state students, we have not seen an increase in cost in tuition fees for the last several years. That's not to say that this won't happen again next year. It may not. But we have seen an increase in other things that are not dictated by the state, like housing and meal plans, right? So there are some increases there. For out-of-state students, we do see an increase typically from year to year, and that can range anywhere from, I don't know, 1% to 4%. I mean, I'm pulling out of the sky here. Christy might be able to better help me with that.
We really don't have any idea, and I would be wrong if I speculated. So, but
Yeah,
that is true that we haven't had an in-state increase in some time.
fair enough, which is, I'm like, so please take a big asterisk with that back to your Google bar when you go to do this. And then Anna, are there any merits? We already answered this. Are there any merit scholarships for out-of-state students? Anna already answered that those have already been awarded. Hey Anna,
Yes.
for Palmetto Fellows, the 30 credit hour requirement, did those include AP credit for freshman year?
They don't. They make it really hard. It's every academic year. So, yeah, you'll need to earn 15 hours in fall, 15 hours in spring, 16, 14, 17, 13, anything that equals 30. AP hours will count. If you're in a STEM major, AP hours will count towards the 14 hours of math and science you need by the end of your freshman year to qualify for that STEM enhancement sophomore year. But that's really the only good that those AP hours do. And maybe get you out of English 101. I don't know.
Anytime to avert English 101. All right. But as long as you're talking, our Life and Palmetto Fellows only available in state out of high school.
Right. And yes. So, and I it's sort of reference this kind of in the discussion, but I didn't want to get into the weeds. But yes, so if your residency changes from out of state to in state at any point after high school graduation, you are not eligible to receive state scholarships. So even if your parents move here your sophomore year, you will, yes, be charged in state tuition, but unfortunately, you're not eligible for those state scholarships. So in order to qualify for Hope Life Palmetto Fellows, you have to have been a South Carolina resident by the time of high school graduation, which sometimes means your parents had to move here a year prior to when you graduated from high school. So just a different criteria.
Okay, but what if I am a South Carolina resident who didn't get life coming out of
Yeah,
high school, but I got a 3.0 with
right.
30 hours at the end of my freshman year?
What a good question. You can then qualify for life. So if you didn't qualify immediately, and let's say you have the Hope Scholarship, because every student should have one of the state scholarships, I think, if they're incoming to Clemson, then you can, in fact, later qualify for life as long as you meet the renewal requirements. Yes.
Does that apply to Palmetto Fellows?
No.
I didn't
Mm-mm.
think so.
No, then you have to qualify for that right out of high school, and you cannot later qualify. And then if you lose Palmetto Fellows at any point because you didn't have the hours or the GPA, you can't regain it back later on. So if you lose it for a year, you can't get it back, but you can qualify for life after you lose Palmetto Fellows. Again, financial aid is so complicated.
Love it. It is. There are so many, we work in the gray.
Yeah.
There's a question about if my student's SAI is greater than 10,000 and is
Mhm.
interested in federal work study, can my student pursue it? Well, the answer is maybe, because I don't know what your SAI is,
Right.
but I would encourage your student to reach out to our office and ask about their eligibility. How that works is if the SAI is greater than their cost of attendance and there's no sort of room, if you will, for us to offer additional aid because the SAI is greater than their cost of attendance, then they would not qualify even to add later. But if our federal work study budget allows our federal work study coordinator to add that and your student qualifies financially, we can go ahead and add that. I would just encourage your student to reach out to us, and then our federal work study coordinator can determine their eligibility from there and provide additional guidance.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Is it recommended to use a service to fill out the FAFSA? I would make so much money if I could do this. This is my future side hustle. No, I would recommend not using a service, in my personal opinion. It's pretty straightforward. It really is. It should only, with the new, easier, simplified FAFSA, it should only take about 20 minutes of your time. Um, you shouldn't even need your tax documents. It should be able to upload that straight from the IRS, so there's no rooting around in, the quote unquote good safe place that you put your tax returns 2 years ago. No, because you're paying for something that is essentially is free. Now, if you don't want to be bothered and you have the extra 70 or $90 or whatever the going rate is for a service to do that and you feel that that is a worthwhile endeavor for you, then I'm not here to tell you no, but I'm saying you shouldn't have to. It should, if you've got the 20 minutes to spare and have, a solid sense of the internet, then you should be able to do that with absolutely no problem. It's also important to note that the FAFSA is offered in at least two other languages. So even if your parent is non-natively English speaking, there's a Spanish language version. I think there's a Chinese version as well. I think there's a Mandarin version, I should say, not Chinese, because there's many languages in China.
Yes.
Um, hey Anna, are there scholarships available for out-of-state students during their second year based on their first year's grades? Did I?
Again, it's
I already
all,
asked you that. I did.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I wanted to do demerit scholarships apply to transfer students?
No, unless it's a state scholarship, which will transfer just like it would if you were renewing as a sophomore here on Clemson. So if you're a state scholarship recipient, you can get that again as a transfer student. But unfortunately, there are no like Clemson University scholarships available for transfers at this time.
Sure. And I've seen lots of questions like this. And so to sort of address again, for
Mm-mm.
parents, you are not able to access IROR.
Hmm.
The student needs to log in, and that's where they will find their unsatisfied student requirements. It is under once they log into IROR, there's a financial aid tab, and there's it says green, it's like a green tab, and it says My Financial Aid. that is where they will find all of their unsatisfied student requirements, as well as their aid offer. That's where they will accept their aid. All of those things are on their IORE account. What else do I have? Oh, folks asking about what happens if the student's under 18. It doesn't matter. The federal government says that once your student starts college, FERPA applies.
Yeah.
I myself am a late birthday girly, and so I also started college when I was 17, and FERPA applied. Um, so I have a parent asking about completing the FAFSA as a divorced parent who is now remarried. Yes, so the parent that provides the majority of the student support and their current spouse, those are the parents on the FAFSA. If the father of your student is not your current spouse and you are providing a bulk of the majority of their support, the father of the student, their income is irrelevant to the process. So it would be you and your spouse completing the FAFSA. Let's see here. Somebody's asking about math. Jason, I appreciate the question, but I am not able to do compounded interest for a single year based on this year's interest rate. I actually don't know what 25, 26 interest rate is yet. We won't know that until, again, about July 1 or so, and we will update that on our website. But yes, it's a lot. It's a lot. How about that? Um, in the event of a death of a parent, is life insurance considered income? It's not considered income, but it is considered an asset. Um, so that will go into their cash savings checking if they have Anna, what's the word, or Chrissy, what's the word? A trust, sorry, the word trust.
Oh,
That is an asset, so it counts because it's liquid assets, right? Available to pay that student's help with that student's college education. So those do count, but not as income per se. Um, okay. Christy or Chris, will private scholarships be posted to a student's account upon receipt of funds to Clemson? Christy, you are not
Um,
coming through.
I'm not sure that you could hear her, but yes, they will be. Once the bill is published in July, if the bill comes out on July 21st, we receive a scholarship from you on July 23rd. Then generally, in most instances, it'll be posted there on July 23rd, the day it's received in the mail. Um, if it's received before the bill actually comes out, and Christy can correct me if I'm wrong, if we receive it like before the bill comes out, then it's still put in and we can view it in the system. You wouldn't see it until the bill comes out. But yes, it would be posted right away, just like a regular check that we receive in the mail.
Perfect, thank you. Chris, I had with a four payment plan, is there any interest on the payments? For
No,
example, the total bill is $20,000. Is each payment 5,000?
yeah, yeah. So there's no interest that's charged on that. You're only paying the balance that's there, split into four. The only additional cost for that is the $75 enrollment fee. That's one time up front, but there's no interest on it. Of course, keep in mind if you use the debit or credit card, then that could be that 3% processing fee with each transaction, but we do not charge any additional interest.
Perfect, thank you. Also, as long as you're chatting, is the Florida Bright Futures money able to be applied at Clemson?
Yes. Christy, isn't that just a prepaid plan? Is that one of theirs? And that they can email that email address. I don't know if it's been posted somewhere or not. Since I was doing these slides, I wasn't able to look at a lot of that. The prepaid plans at clemson.edu. If you have any specific questions about that or want to get some guidance, but yes, we do receive funding from the Bright Futures program in Florida.
Thank you so much. All right, I've had this a couple times. What year FAFSA do you need to submit for this summer? For summer start students or any students forever. If for summer, you do so summer is the tail end of the current academic year. So you need to do the 24-25 FAFSA because the academic year starts in the fall. So it's fall, spring, summer. And because we are summer is the current 24-25 academic year, you will need to do the 24-25 FAFSA to determine your summer aid eligibility. I will answer this too. I've had this question probably 3 times tonight. The question was, how does my student declare himself as an independent? They don't typically. The fact that I have a parent asking about it would generally indicate that the student is not independent. Now that may not be the case always. If the student is over the age of 24, if the student is as an active duty military member, if the student is married, if the student has a child that they're supporting both themselves 100% plus 50% plus $1 of that child, right? Then the student is independent. But a student is not independent simply because a parent is either unable and or unwilling to pay for their child's college expenses. So they can't necessarily declare themselves as independent. There's a federal process that determines if a student is independent or dependent for federal aid purposes. So I hope that helps. What is this? Oh, Chris or Christy, what if two parents pay separately for tuition? Will the balance update an IROR upon the first payment? Or also can only one account be input for electronic refunds? Any additional two separate paying parents should know in regarding to setup or payments. Sorry, reading is hard.
I'm sorry. Did you call on me?
Yeah.
What was
I
the,
did
I was
call
answering
on
another
you,
question.
Chris. Back of the class immediately. Okay, so basically it sounds like there's two parents paying separately for the student. And so if one parent makes a payment, will that show up immediately so the second parent can make their payment? Secondarily, is is there an ability to set up two different refund accounts for parents?
No to the refund account question. There can only be one. You can have multiple saved payment methods in the system, but only one can be designated as a refund account. So if there's an overage, whichever one the student has designated as the refund account, that's where the refund's going to go. So only one account can be set up as a refund account. As to when the payments would post, if you go through the portal and make an e-check payment or a credit or debit card, those are going to appear on the bill as payment right away. Okay, I mean, you can literally log out and log back in, and you should be able to see that payment applied to the bill right away. If a check is mailed in or brought by, we generally post them on the day we receive them in the office. So the only lags we really have a lot of times are if a payment is wired, or if it's sent by a 529, we just have to wait on the mail transit time. Any other payment generally is going to be pretty much right away. And I want to make one correction. Someone corrected me on that. Bright Futures is actually Florida scholarship program. But yes,
Oh,
to answer your initial question, Bright Future, I've seen a lot of payments from Bright Futures come in through here. So yes, we do work with them nonetheless.
all right, perfect. And then I have a question about 529 plans, if they are disclosed into the child's name on the FAFSA. Yes. So prepaid 529 plans are typically there is an owner of the account and then the beneficiary. The beneficiary is the student, so it's really their account, and the owner really they can't use those funds, right? Unless they're paying for that beneficiary's educational expenses. So yes, 529 plans are listed under assets as investments on the student's FAFSA. And what that does is what the FAFSA is looking for is to determine a student's ability to pay for college using all assets and resources, right? So the parents' income, assets, cash savings, checking accounts, right? Things like that in addition to their 529 plans. So yes, they would need to include that when they're completing that. And then Christy or Chris, if spring 25 bills, I think they mean spring 26 because spring 25 already passed. So spring 26 bills are due in November. They're not due in November. They're due usually at the end of December, beginning of January, like New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, somewhere in there. Um, can I still play with my 529 for the next calendar year and comply with 529 regulations? That's a good question.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you're correct. They're actually due generally around the 5th or 6th of January, sometime in that first week. Christie's giving me a notation here. I think she's having trouble with her microphones. Actually, I apologize. This year they are January 1st. That's what she was correcting me on. They are January 1st, is actually the due date. Now, as far as the regulations, it would be better, honestly, to talk to the 529 servicer as far as those type of regulations. And we get into tax issues and things like that. You just have to, with springtime, you have to pay attention because you've got charges coming in one year, and if you wait to January 1st to pay it, you've got payments coming in another year. So a lot of folks sometimes want to make sure for tax purposes that they get those two lined up in the same year. Because that could definitely influence the amount we report on that 1098T if we've got a charge coming in November, a payment coming in January, because the IRS goes on a January 1st to December 31st calendar. So just keep that in mind. But the other question, probably need to talk to their service provider, because we wouldn't really be an expert on that particular area of it.
Perfect. Thank you, friend. And somebody's asking for clarification. I think we should probably take this. If somebody's asking about the clarification between Florida Bright Futures, which is the in-state scholarship program, which does not travel, and the Florida prepaid plan, which does. Can you help
Well,
with
I was
on that?
myself a little bit confused on Bright Futures. Christy, do you know which one of those we would? That is a scholarship, but I'm not.
So
Or,
as we know, the Florida Bright Future Scholarship is an in-state program. It's similar to Life Palmetto Fellows, Hope, and that is available to in-state Floridians who attend an in-state Florida school that does not travel outside of state lines. Again, you can contact the Florida Bright Futures program specifically to make sure that's the case. But generally speaking, state scholarship programs do not leave the state that they're awarded in, if that makes sense. Now, prepaid plan, like Chris was talking about, those go wherever your kid goes, right, Chris?
and I think I initially thought that was a prepaid plan, and I was mistaken. So that may be where the. Sorry for the confusion.
No, it's perfect. Obviously that's confusing. Like Anna said, there's a lot of nuance here. It says it is presented by the, ooh, okay. Oh, and
I
it asks, so what email address do you want to use? I think Riley or Chrissy just posted that in the chat for outside scholarships. So if y'all need addresses to submit the prepaid plan information, like the card you have from your plan administrator, or your outside scholarships checks that need to be submitted, or if you have questions about outside scholarships, those email addresses are in the chat.
Yes. And Amy, I did see a couple of questions about the GI Bill and using the Chapter 3335 benefits, which I briefly mentioned in the presentation. I did post that email in the chat as well. So please take note of that. If you are somebody who needs to get your certificate of eligibility for your student to us, that needs to go through the VA benefits office, and their email is now in the chat. Thanks.
All right, perfect. Well, y'all, it has been a solid 2 hours and 40 minutes, and we have loved every second of it. Thank y'all so much for coming and enjoying our information. And of course, Chris, will you advance the slide one more?
Beg pardon. No.
We just advanced, yeah, perfect. So if
No.
y'all have any questions, this is our contact information. Again, Student Financial Services is the billing office. Their information is in the purple box. And Student Financial Aid, we are in the orange box. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Both of our offices have phone hours available from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. We have a live chat available from 2 to 4. And our offices are both open from 8 to 4:30 if you happen to be on campus or are local. And then, of course, email is for me, I cannot stand a full inbox, so I answer my emails within a couple. I know Anna's the same way. We hate a scrolly bar on our inbox. So feel free to email our offices and somebody will get back to you very promptly and we will help answer any questions y'all have. But at the end, thank y'all so much for coming. Casey, do you have anything that you want to add before we head out?
Yeah, I think we have just a couple final reminders, maybe on the next slide, Chris, as we wrap up here. So we had a few questions come through during the time in the Q&A button, again, about that recording. I know we've mentioned it a couple times, but just a reminder that you can check back and watch this again. There will be many ways to do that. Give us some time to get this processed and uploaded in all the various places. We will send this out through the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal within the next week. And then again, it will be live on the web link that we put in the chat, which we will include in that information as well. This is a part of a larger Tiger Talk webinar series again. So this is number 2 of, I think, 11 this summer. So if you have questions about parking, living on campus, dining on campus, that is our next topic coming up on June 11th. And then we'll have a health and wellness one and the day after that. I'm not sure if we included anything else. This may be our last slide. Let's double check for me, Chris. I can't quite recall. Yep. All right. Well, then I believe we have completely concluded our time here. As Amy said, thank you all so much for your engagement, your questions, and feel free to reach out if anything comes up in the meantime. Go Tigers. Thank you all.